Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Park University's Computer Networking Laboratory, CS366. My name is Tom Rogowski, and I'll be your instructor for the next 8 weeks. This video will cover NetLab and how to complete and submit the weekly NetLab assignments. We're going to start here in Canvas. One of the first things when it comes to NetLab that you should do is go ahead and review the NetLab FAQs listed right here. Go through all of them. One thing that may be of importance to you is how to save a configuration file. What can happen is that when you are running a NetLab simulation is that you are either running out of time or some other event is happening in your home or in your life where you have to stop and pause, and then maybe you can't finish the lab until a couple hours later or maybe a day later. In NetLab, in order for you to do that, you need to save your configuration files, and then you would restart the lab later and you would reload the files. In this video, I will show you how to do that. So here we go. Number one, go ahead and review the NetLab FAQs. In the announcement section, I've posted all of the weekly NetLab assignments right here from Unit 1 all the way to Unit 7. And the reason I do that is on the weekends, the NetLab slots fill up very quickly, and if you wait until the very last moment on a Saturday evening or a Sunday evening, you may realize that there's no available slot for you to schedule your simulation. If you only have time on the weekends, one of the things you can do is you can go ahead and schedule each week's lab ahead of time. You don't have to do that, but sometimes it might not be a bad idea. We do use 3 modules or 3 pods throughout Park University, not just for CS366, but also for the other advanced networking classes that are taught. We're going to go to Unit 1. I'm going to show you how to navigate over to NetLab. Okay, Unit 1, NetLab. For this week, you will have building a simple network. It will give you some steps, what you have to do for submissions, and the grading rubric, which are these things right here. And I will go through this in detail here in a few moments. But the first thing, I'm going to open a new page, and we're going to go to the website labs.fhsu.edu. Here we go. You will receive an email with your username and password to access NetLab. The username is case sensitive, and it'll all be in lowercase. The first time you log on, you have to set up certain parameters. But then subsequent times, your home page will look something like this. One of the first things you should do is click on Help up on top and review the student guide over here. You can download the PDF, or you can just wait for it to load and go ahead and review it. Again, you might find it useful to look at Section 6, Manage Configuration Files. Again, how to save a configuration and how to load a configuration. What we're going to do is schedule a lab, building a simple network. So we click on New Lab Reservation. You choose Schedule Lab for myself. And you will see a list of all of the NetLab assignments that are possible. Now, you only have to do 7, 1 for each week. But for additional practice, you can pick any of these and complete them at your own time. This is the one that you're going to be working on for week 1. Over on the right-hand side is a downward arrow. If you click on that, there are three options. We can show the lab topology, preview the lab. These are the actual instructions in PDF format. This will give you again the topology, it'll give you the addressing table, the objectives, background, and the steps that you need to do to successfully complete the lab. I highly recommend that you download each lab's file by clicking down here. I've already done this, so I don't have to do it. The next thing you want to do is actually schedule the lab. And there's two ways to do that. Again, you can come over here, click on the down arrow and click on Schedule Lab. That's one way. Or just click on the link. There are three labs available. I'm sorry, there are three pods available. Okay, pod 1, 2, and 3. And you will see a red line. That is the current time. You have two ways that you can schedule a lab. Number one, you can schedule a lab for right now, or you can schedule a lab for sometime in the future. I'm going to do both. Let me show you how to do both. In order to schedule a lab that you want to do right now, you want to click on the red line, like so. Take a look at the start time and the end time. You can change this end time. Right now, in this particular instance, you have a lab length of 33 minutes. On a small lab, that may be enough time, but for more complex labs, 33 minutes is not going to be enough time. The maximum time that you can schedule a lab for is 4 hours. I'm going to schedule this one for about an hour. I'm going to click inside of the date time right here. And I'm going to pick the time I want to end. Okay, 1446, give me an hour. Let's do 16, let's do here. There we go. You will notice that from here to here is obviously a little more than 1 hour and 3 minutes. There are 10 minutes of admin time that is added to the lab. So make sure you look at the length of the reservation, not simply this here. And we're going to submit. Okay, click OK. All right. You can see that this is available. It says enter lab. I'm going to schedule one more. Schedule lab for myself. I'll do this one again. And I'm going to schedule that for this evening at 2100 or 9 p.m. I'm going to click on pod number 2. 50 minutes. I'm going to pick 1 hour and 50 minutes. Okay, I now have 2 labs reserved, and you can see on my home page, it'll tell me the labs that I have reserved. I'm going to enter the lab right now. And you have on the top all of the different status and device options available to you. Each NetLab comes with 3 PCs, A, B, and C, 3 switches, S1, 2, and 3, and 3 routers, R1, 2, and 3. You will not use every single device for every single lab. The topology and the contents will tell you. For example, in this lab, you will have 2 switches, S1 and S2, and 2 computers, PCA and PCB. You have the content, which are the instructions, which you probably already downloaded, and I'll explain why that's important. This will give you the status of all the devices. And this will give you the virtual environment for each device, or the command line interface, the CLI. You will see it is still working. Okay, so although your pod may initialize very quickly, Getting all the devices to initialize may take a few minutes, at which time you really can't do anything. What I'm going to do is change my screen layout so that I have the instructions on one side and I have the actual lab on the other side. Okay, instructions again give me the topology, an addressing table, objectives. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to configure the PC hosts for this lab. Here is PCA. Go, make that a little bit. There we go. All right. One of the options that you have, and I do recommend that you do this, for each device, you have the option to undock and create a new window, like so. That may make it easier for you to manage all of the different devices. And you can play with that. You don't have to undock. I just find it easier to work with. I now have PCA undocked. And in this particular lab, you're going to configure the IP addresses and subnet masks for PCA and PCB. If you've worked in an IT environment as a help desk agent or as a field service agent where you go out and fix these things, this may be very familiar to you. I'm just going to go run through one of them right here real quick. Click on the start. Now sometimes you have to click on this more than once to actually activate the window. Here we go. Control panel. Now on mine, the view is by small icons. In the instructions, the view is by categories, so it'll look a little bit differently. I'm going to change it to category. View network status. Okay, as you can see, I'm going back to the instructions and I can just page down. Change adapter settings. Okay, I'm going to right click on local area connection. Properties. Then I'm going to change the IP for IPv4, which is here. Click properties. And I'm going to go ahead and input the IP address. In this example, it has it in the window. In some other labs, you won't see it here, but it will actually be at the very top in your addressing table. Sometimes your addressing table will be empty and you have to actually create and figure out the IP address and the subnet mask, but not for this one. So let us go back. Here we go. We're going to static IP address 192.168.1.10. I tab over and it will default to the standard subnet mask right here. And I click OK. And I close. There we go. You would do the same thing for PCB. I'm not going to do that. It's very apparent on how to do this. Click out of this. There we go. You can verify your PC settings and your connectivity. Once you have PCB configured, then you'd want to do a ping to the other PC, and it should work. But let's go on to configuring the switch. I'm going to leave this open. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to go to switch 1, and I'm going to undock. Okay. And let's go through this. In order to go into privileged exec mode, the command is enable. Okay. I'm going to go into configuration mode by typing in the command configure terminal. Like so. If you've used CLI before, you may be familiar with some shortcuts. There's shortcuts for everything. Instead of typing in the entire configure terminal, you can type in config T. It'll do the same thing. Step 4, you give the switch a name. Use hostname command and S1 right here. And you will see right now the switch name is called switch. I'm changing that over. Now you can see how it has changed over to S1. You can finish. Go to step 6, no IP domain lookup. This prevents the system from looking at a website in case you mistype something. Okay. Step 6, enter local passwords. Enable secret class. I'm going to go to line council 0. I'm going to give password of Cisco to the console, login, exit. Step 7, a message of the day banner. Banner, MOTD, and a pound sign or hashtag sign or tic-tac-toe sign, whatever you call it. Okay. And you would do some kind of intro banner such as unauthorized access is not allowed or some such thing. To finish it, another pound sign, just like so, and exit. Okay, there we go. Now everything that you're typing in is just in the running configuration or in the RAM, the volatile RAM. If I turn this switch off right now, everything I've typed in is not going to be saved. So you have to save it to NVRAM or the non-volatile RAM. In step 8, it'll show you the command, copy running config, startup config. Okay, and here we go. And you hit enter. And there we go. Again, that's a lot of stuff to type, especially if you're a two-finger typer. So again, we can use a shortcut, copy run start, like so. We'll accomplish the same thing. There we go. Or even faster, copy R space S, also will do the same thing, whatever you want to use. Okay. All right. Step 9, show running config. That will show you everything that you have typed. Show running config or show run, same thing. We've added a no IP domain lookup here, that is in there. We have hostname of S1 is also in there. Okay, very good. Okay. Now what's important is the rubric, what you're going to be graded on. The instructions that you have here are part of the lab and you have to do all of these instructions, all of these steps. However, there are additional requirements in order for you to get the full points. So once you are completely done with all of the steps, you need to go back over into Canvas. Here we go. And take a look at the rubric. And it will tell you what you need to type in. Here, here, and here. So let's do the first one, show S1 show run. Let me go ahead and find that over here. See, this is another reason why it's easy to undock, because I can have what I need for the rubric on one side and I can have the actual window of the switch on the other side. So first thing, I did this already, but let's do it again. Show run. By the way, if you see the more at the bottom, just hit the space bar. There we go. And you see it's all in here. So you've done that. The system automatically saves those commands that you type into a switch and a router, and I will see those. So there is no need for you to copy and paste the output from a switch or a router. Next one is show IP interface brief. Show IP interface brief. This will do it. Or again, we have shortcuts. You can instead use show IP int b. Same thing. There you go. And those are the two commands you need for S1. You would go over to switch number 2. You would go through all the steps. You can look at step number 12 here. Repeat the configuration steps for switch 2 and go through show run, show IP interface brief. Again, you don't have to do a screen save for the switches and the routers because I see them in the system log for NetLabs. The next thing you need, it'll say PCA ping PCB. So from PCA, you would go ahead and ping PCB using the command line. That requires you to go ahead and do a screenshot. Let's go ahead and find PCA. Now I did not configure PCB, so a ping at this point would not be successful. Okay, this will fail. For your example though, once you've configured PCB, you will get a successful ping response here. Any output from a PC, whether that is a ping or that is a telnet connection to a router, requires you to do a screenshot. So if you're using Windows 10, that might be the snippet tool. I'm using an iMac, so I'm going to use the grab tool and show you how you can do that. Real quick, I'm going to capture a selection, and it is going to be this. Okay. And there's several ways to do that. I can go ahead and save that as a JPEG, or I can just copy it. In this example, I'm going to paste it into a Word document, like so. Okay. And then you would take this document and you would upload that into Canvas. The last thing, when it comes to the rubric, are the reflection questions, which are located in these instructions here at the very bottom, just before you get to Appendix A. You would need to answer this question. What would prevent a ping from being sent between the PCs? Think about the answer. You can just put the answer in the same document here. Here we go. And then you would save this document and you would upload the document. Okay. Let's go back to what happens when you're getting towards the end of a lab reservation. If you are within 15 minutes of time remaining and you need to extend the time, in the upper right-hand corner you will see reservation. You click on that. You can request more time and it will give you 30 more minutes. But you can only do that if you're within 15 minutes of the lab ending. If I click on this now, it'll tell me, sorry, must be within 15 minutes. So this is one way. For example, if you've scheduled a lab for 2 hours, you've used up 1 hour and 45 minutes, you need more time, you can extend and you request more time up to a maximum of 4 hours. If you have a situation where you must stop because something is going on at home, something is going on with work, or something in your life where you have to stop and you have to come back later, whether that's later on in the evening or maybe tomorrow or in a couple of days, what you want to do is you want to save your configuration files. And there's an easy way to do that. Up in the upper right hand corner you will see a link to pod, and there are three options. You choose Save All Devices. Click on that. What you want to do is save to your files. Right. You will pick your account folder. Click on that. Okay. Now you probably will not have a folder here. I recommend that you create a folder. And the folder name can be whatever you want. I usually use the name of the lab. I've already chose 2333, so I'm going to use Unit 1 Lab. Here we go. I'm going to click on the folder that you created, and at the bottom I'm going to say Save Here. And by default it'll say Pod 1, the date and the time. That's fine, you can leave that and you can click on Create. And that is go ahead, it's going to create your configuration files and save them. When it is time for you to come back later on that day or maybe a couple days from now, you can go ahead and load the configuration files that you had before, because by default it's not going to save everything. Okay, it may look like it is saving everything, but not necessarily. So we'll try that. Okay, I'm going to end the reservation. Yes. And we're gonna do a new one. And I'm gonna show you how to reload the configuration files that you have saved. I'm gonna schedule. Here we go. Let's do this one. 43 minutes should be plenty of time. Submit. Okay. And we're going to enter the lab. Now this may take a while, initializing pod, depending on the speed of your computer, but also the speed of your internet connection that you have. So this may take a few moments. And here we go. All right. Now, if you click on any of the switches or the routers, okay, it'll tell you keyboard input disabled. Although you are in the lab, it is still in the process of loading the default configuration for each device, which is of course not what you want. You want the configuration that you've saved. What you do is you click on pod up here, load all devices. The choices you want, well, the choice you want is the middle one, replace existing with new configuration, right here. Select. Yes. Click on File System. This is the one. You want to use your account folder. Click the folder that you have, and you will see the pod that you created. Over on the right-hand side, down, click on the arrow, and click Load. Okay, and that will load your configuration. It may take a while, but it will go ahead and do it. Okay, when you are done, make sure that you've done all of these, because you get points for these right here. Make sure that for anything that is done from a PC, which could be a ping from a PC to another PC, or in later labs, it could be a Telnet SSH connection from a PC to a router. Whatever you have on that screen for the PC, you need to do a screen capture, either using the grab tool in Mac OS or the snippet tool in Windows 10. You can then either create a JPEG or a GIF file out of that, or like I've done, I've copied it and I've created a Word document. You save this and this gets uploaded into Canvas. All right. Hopefully, this is a good introduction how to find NetLab and how to go ahead and submit your assignment successfully. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me a note, either email or in the Canvas inbox here at any time. Okay. Thank you so much. I look forward to working with you guys for the next 8 weeks. Bye-bye.